Batter up and step up to the plate. I hope everybody is having a great Monday night. We have a great show ahead today talking about the home run derby and all that. And welcome to Batter Up. My name is LoroAntonio along with Taylor Ogata. Isaiah will be joining us shortly. So let's first talk about our favorite team segment here. And first start with Taylor and I's SoCal teams with the Dodgers and the Angels. So basically, Taylor, both of our teams ended the first half of the season with a freeway series down on the Big A. And the Dodgers swept the Angels in a 2-game series. I mean, it has to be without Mike Trout. I mean, Brandon Marsh hit only one home run in back-to-back games. And what is your thoughts overall to the Angels' first half? I mean, before you go on here, talk about the 14-game losing streak. They were off to a promising start. They were playing teams that they should be beating back in April. And then in May, they ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into some good teams. And they continued to lose and lose and lose. And then in June, Joe Maddon was dismissed. Phil Nevin takes over. And the Angels, since that Mariners series and in that brawl, the Angels have struggled. And the Angels just did not have a good first half overall here.
Oh yeah, they definitely did not. Even with the hot start, they just short. I mean, they had a great month of April, like you said, but then May, the calendar turns to May, the wheels fall off, and then the 14-game losing streak happens. And that leads to Joe Maddon's firing. So basically, this definitely was not the first half I wanted from the Angels.
It showed a lot of promise. I was kind of thinking that they were going to challenge the Houston Astros in the division, but you got to face the facts. And I want to apologize to my viewers out there that I picked the Angels to win the division just because of how upset I was with the Astros winning the American League West. But some people might hate me for saying this, but to be real and to be honest, the Houston Astros are literally the better team in the American League West. Do I see a challenger coming up, which we'll get to in a minute? I think that's the Seattle Mariners. I think they can challenge the Houston Astros for the top spot in the AL West. But right now, from how I see it, Houston is going to run away with the division as expected. But I do want to see more of the other teams like the Rangers and the Mariners to kind of step up their game and make it quite a challenge, because I know that the American League West can be a really good division, but it's just not been the case this year. But we'll talk about the Dodgers here. So, I mean, this team has battled bumps and bruises, and talk about losing Walker Buehler in June when he had an elbow injury. I mean, luckily it didn't have to require Tommy John surgery. It was an elbow strain, which is going to sideline him until September. Blake Trinan was off to a promising start, but he got hurt, and he's close to returning. Daniel Hudson, who was a key part of the Dodgers relief corps, he is out for the season with a torn ACL, and I'd like the Dodgers to keep him next year, which I think they will. And at the same time, I also think that losing Chris Taylor to a fractured foot was kind of a big blow, and he's going to be out until at least August or September. Dodgers got Trey Thompson and Jake Lamb to kind of help fill that void, and they've done a nice job since the Chris Taylor injury. And I also think that despite all the injuries that the Dodgers have gone through in this first half of the season, the Dodgers are 60-30. This team is ready to make a lot of noise in the second half of the season. And they play the Giants on Thursday. Looking forward to that. And I also think that the Dodgers, on the other hand, I think that the Dodgers are going to be ready for the second half. But now when they get Dustin May back, and when they get Walker Buehler back and Blake Trinan back and Chris Taylor back, this team's going to be fully healthy for a really big playoff run and potentially another world championship to the city of Los Angeles. And the Dodgers ended the first half of the season on a 2-game sweep of the Angels. They took 2 out of 3 in St. Louis to end the first half of the season. They had a great homestand this couple weeks ago when they took 2 out of 3 from the Padres, swept the Rockies, swept the Cubs. But all in all, I'm really happy about where the Dodgers are at. And then heading into tomorrow, looking forward to seeing Freddie Freeman, Tyler Anderson, Tony Gonsolin, and Mookie Betts and Trey Turner in the All-Star game tomorrow. And I know, Taylor, you're excited to see Shohei Ohtani back in the All-Star game tomorrow. But Mike Trout is not playing, and he's probably going to be out for at least a couple of days. I mean, the first couple of weeks of the second half of the season.
Yeah, with those back spasms, they're taking it day by day, of course, but back spasms, that's definitely a big blow. And especially, I mean, that's probably part of the reason why Trout is kind of, slowed down his production because of back spasms. And that's probably also the reason why, well, while he was getting off to that torrid start, that hot start, at the same time, the back spasms, and I know he's been an Iron Man throughout his career, but but now he's kind of gotten older and is starting to break down. So no surprise, but this is definitely a big loss for the Angels, and not to mention the whole team really needs to pick up the slack in his absence.
Well, I mean, talk about the second half of the season. So my Dodgers begin with San Fran for 4. The Angels go down to Atlanta for a 3-game series. Basically, the second half of the season for the Angels does not get any easier.
It does not, and the same thing kind of goes, for the, I mean, for the Dodgers. I mean, for all 30 MLB clubs, it's not going to be easy because, the second half, obviously, this is basically crunch time because the second half of the season can pretty much make or break your season. Can pretty much make or break your chances of winning the World Series.
You're absolutely right about that. But I told you this. I talked about with you off air, and we should address this right now. I think Mike Trout needs to change positions. Move him from center field to left field because I think Brandon Marsh should be playing center field at this time right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it should be because, although, this reminds me of 2002, or before 2002 when Tim Salmon was there. I think he started in center and eventually they moved him to right. So I think this would definitely be a good move, to put Trout in left or maybe right. I don't know, but definitely not in center because, Brandon Marsh, he's definitely been playing good in center field. While he may not be hitting the ball well, his defense is definitely been stellar. And I've seen him make some great defensive plays. Like I think I recently wasn't in the last series against the Dodgers, but all throughout his time, he's really made some great defensive plays out there.
And then we got Shardul Gupta here. Shardul, welcome to the program, and tell us your thoughts overall on the San Francisco Giants' first half of the season and all that. And we lost Shardul here. I don't know if we can hear us, so we're going to proceed without him. So anyways, let's talk about the home run derby, Taylor. So I'll tell you, this home run derby was great. And Juan Soto and Ricky Phenom, Julio Rodriguez went toe-to-toe in the final round. There was no three-peat for Pete Alonso. So anyways, what is your thoughts here on Juan Soto winning the derby?
Oh yeah, this is definitely retribution for him losing to Pete Alonso last year because Soto, when it came, at the same time, he also had the young slugger Julio Rodriguez as another obstacle, but not to mention Rodriguez. I remember shortly before the All-Star break, he hit a walk-off grand slam and he hit it a long way. So that just goes to show, and And I was kind of thinking Rodriguez would win because while he's only 21 years old, he's he's also he's also developing into one of the young sluggers in the game. As if Juan Soto isn't there already, but now he's the second youngest player in the history of the home run derby to win to win it all. But
What about you? Go ahead.
to foil Pete Alonso of a three-peat, that's definitely getting retribution for what he did to you last year.
And then Chardol, since you're just joining us here, what is your thoughts on the Giants' first half of the season? And also, what is your thoughts on the home run derby with Juan Soto winning it all?
So my Giants are having an amazing season this year. We're 47-43. We're currently on a 3-game winning streak. We took 3 out of 4 games from the Brewers series, and now we're gonna be going to LA to face your Dodgers in a 4-game series. I'm really excited about that series. I hope we get the sweep, but if we don't get the sweep, then I'm not going to be disappointed about it because I know, you can't win everything. You win, you lose, you win some, you lose some. It's just how everything works.
Yeah, and that's how everything works here. And what is your thoughts on the home run derby with Juan Soto defeating Julio Rodriguez?
I mean, Juan Soto is a great baseball player with special talents, and I agree with Taylor on this point that it's retribution for him getting defeated by Pete Alonso in last year's home run derby, and he came in this year and made a point, defeating Julio Rodriguez in the final round by a score of 19-18. He hit Juan Soto hit 19 home runs, and Julio Rodriguez hit 18 home runs.
Yeah, you're right about that. But anyways, folks, now we will move on to our All-Star Game segment. So let's preview and predict the 2022 MLB All-Star Game. I'll go first. My pick to win the All-Star Game is the National League, and my MVP will be Mookie Betts if the National League wins. And I say that because I think the American League has won it too many times. I think it's time for the National League to get a win. And what about you, Taylor? Who's your pick to win the All-Star Game, and who's your MVP?
Well, the AL, of course. I gotta stay with the American League, and you know, I'll probably have to go with Otani because he's pretty much the first two-way star since Babe Ruth, and definitely you know he's never won an All-Star Game MVP award, so this is definitely his time to shine. And if the American League wins it, then Otani definitely deserves it if he contributes.
And what about you, Chardell? Who is your pick to win the All-Star Game and the All-Star Game MVP?
Um, I got the um, I got the NL winning over the AL by a score of 15-12, and I got Jock Peterson winning the National League MVP.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked about that too. I mean, Jack Peterson has been a great asset to the San Francisco Giants. But anyways, now let's move on and talk about some major headlines. So, national superstar Juan Soto reportedly rejected a 15-year offer from the Nationals over the weekend, and now the Nationals will entertain to trade him. The Nats are reportedly seeking a Kevin Durant massive haul in any potential trade for Juan Soto. Do I think Juan Soto will be traded? I don't think they should trade him now or at the trade deadline. Maybe wait until the offseason just so you know what the value is. I think that you got to wait until the offseason. But if I have to say where he gets traded at the deadline, I'd want him to go to the New York Yankees. You package Joey Gallo and a couple of prospects in that deal to Washington for Juan Soto. That's what I would do if I were the Yankees and if I were Brian Cashman. So, anyways, Taylor, I know you might agree with me or disagree on this. I predicted that if he were Juan Soto were traded at the trade deadline, I predicted that he would be a New York Yankee. What about you?
Yeah, maybe the Yankees or maybe the Padres. I say they could get him in exchange for probably someone like say Jurickson Profar, or maybe send Luke Voigt back to the Bronx, and maybe some, or better yet, maybe one of those guys, or some prospects, and maybe even some cash. Who knows? But
No, I'm saying that I think the Padres isn't a bad idea. But I'm thinking that if he were to get traded to San Diego, I would throw in CJ Abrams in that deal, not Mackenzie Gore.
CJ Abrams, or maybe, like I mentioned, one of the current players that are playing well, like I mentioned, Jurickson Profar, or Luke Voigt, or maybe even Jake Cronenworth. Who knows?
No, the Padres don't want to get rid of Jay Cronenworth, that's for sure here. So,
Or or what about
go.
Manny, or I don't know about Manny Machado,
No,
but
that Machado has a vet contract, so he's going to stay there. So, Chardol, where do you have Juan Soto going? And what is your thoughts on that? And I think that it could drag into the offseason, but if he were to be traded, I chose the New York Yankees or maybe the San Diego Padres as a dark horse team for Juan Soto.
I mean, if Juan Soto leaves the Washington Nationals, I think the next team that he could possibly go to would be the Yankees, to team up with Anthony Rizzo and Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I could see that going there, but I don't know if we can hear Isaiah. So, Isaiah, if you can hear us here, what is your whole scenario on the Juan Soto thing? And I predicted that he would be a New York Yankee. And where do you think he could go to if he were to be traded at the deadline, or if this drags on into the offseason?
Well, first of all, fellas, I hope you guys can hear me. Technical difficulties really suck, not gonna lie. But it's great to talk to you guys. It's great to be on the show tonight with you guys all. As I'm coming to you guys live from the Pacific Northwest, I've had a blast in Seattle. But you know, my thoughts on the Juan Soto thing is, everybody's freaking out about him turning down 15 years and 440 million or whatever it was. It was, I think it was close to, it was 440 or 450. But everybody that's freaking out, they need to relax, because if you look at the structure of the contract, if you look at the average annual value, the amount of money that Juan Soto would have gotten paid during every year of that contract, he would have only gotten $29 million. We're talking about Juan Soto here. This is one of the best players in all of baseball. That contract would have been ranked in like the number 15 to 20 range of the top players getting paid in baseball. Like, Juan Soto wants to get paid Aaron Judge money. He wants to get paid Bryce Harper money. He wants to get paid Mike Trout money, and he deserves it because he's a superstar. He doesn't want to get paid middle tier money. He wants to get paid top tier money. I think that the reason why he turned it down wasn't because of the years. He doesn't care about the years. It's about the amount of money that he was going to get paid on a yearly basis. And I think him getting only paid 29 million when Trout is getting paid, like, I believe from what I read, like 40 million. Max Scherzer is getting paid like 50 million. Judge is going to get a boatload of money. It's truly disrespectful to a young star in Juan Soto who is only 23 years of age. And also, let me say this about the Juan Soto thing. Juan Soto is only 23. Why would you want to strap yourself to one franchise for the rest of your career? Let yourself have some options. Let yourself have some flexibility. And I think that's what he's doing in this situation. And also, I just think he really wants to get out of Washington. I really just don't think that the Washington Nationals have what it takes, have what they can offer to Juan Soto that will get him to stay. He doesn't want to go through a rebuild. He wants to win right now because he's tasted winning in the past. He won a World Series with the Nationals back in 2019. He wants to go to a big franchise, a big market franchise that can help him win. I think that's what this is. So I'm not surprised that he turned it down. I'm not surprised the Nationals are entertaining trading him, because right now, if you trade Juan Soto, you will be getting a massive, massive, massive package in return. And Loro, I think to your question, I think this drags out into the offseason, because we've seen the Kevin Durant thing drag out right now, as it's been like almost a month since he requested his trade. These complex trades, they take a lot of time and a lot of work to complete. So I think it drags out into the offseason. I think Juan Soto will stay a National past the trade deadline. I can't see him getting traded at the trade deadline because I don't see any team offering the Nationals that massive, massive haul that it would be required upon to get Juan Soto. So I think he will get traded in the offseason instead of the deadline. And as far to where I think he will land, I think San Francisco is a great option. I think Philadelphia is also one of them. New York, your Dodgers, Loro, Ben's, Red Sox. It's going to be a big team, a big market team. It's not going to be, the Minnesota Twins or the Cleveland Indians or, like the Oakland A's or Tampa Bay Rays. It's going to be a big market team because they know, you're giving up all that stuff for Juan Soto. You're not only going to get him for the next 2 years, you're going to get him probably sign into a massive contract extension and have him stay with your franchise. So I think if I have to guess right now where he goes, I think he goes to Philly because Philly has needed a center fielder forever. And Dave Dombrowski is known to being very, very aggressive. And the Phillies have not that bad of a farm system, and that they can just trade a boatload of prospects, trade some picks, trade, some young players and get the trade done. I think that Dombrowski sees this club as a team that can go into the playoffs. And when you go into the playoffs, anything can happen. So I really think that at the end of the day, I see Philadelphia being the true front runner for Juan Soto just because they needed a center fielder, and you can move Soto from right field to center, and then you can have a much, much better and much improved outfield with Soto. And imagine Harper comes back. You have Castellanos in left or Schwarber in left. You have Soto in.
No, I wouldn't put Schwarber in left if Soto's there. You have the DH. I think Schwarber should be a DH. He's not a really good outfielder, though, by all means.
Yeah, I mean, you could put Schwarber as a DH. You could put Castellanos in left. You could put Soto in center, and then you could put Harper in right. And Harper's got a great arm in right. Soto has a great arm. He's a tremendous outfielder. The Phillies' outfield defense would instantly be one of the best outfield defenses in baseball if they did add Juan Soto to their team and him being the center fielder.
What about the Dodgers? I mean, Juan Soto could play left. I mean, you can always move Chris Taylor to center field. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to package Mookie Betts or Mookie Betts or something like that amongst those lines. I mean, if the Dodgers want to move on from Cody Bellinger in the offseason, could you see the Dodgers potentially putting together a good package to trade for Juan Soto? I just don't want them to give up too much.
Yeah, and I think the Dodgers would be foolish to give up Mookie Betts. He's one of the cornerstones of your team. But I could see the Dodgers also being another front runner for Juan Soto, just because they have the boatload of picks. They have the farm system, a talent-rich farm system that you can just pick whomever prospects you want and put them out there. And plus, you could also deal Cody Bellinger as well because he's a young player who's under team control, who is going to be cheap for the next few years. Plus, he can hit. And, he's a guy that I think that if maybe a change of scenery could do him well as well.
No, what I'm saying here's what I would do if I were the Dodgers to get Juan Soto. I would package Cody Bellinger. I wouldn't want to give up Gavin Lux, though. I would try to give up a couple of pitching prospects, and then I'd give up we already gave up Keibert Ruiz last year. The Nationals have that. I would just give up a couple of pitching prospects, and then I'd give up an outfield prospect to Washington.
Loro, sadly, I think you probably would need more to land Juan Soto just because this guy's 23 years of age only, and he's a superstar already. And I think it would probably have to take any team that's going to get Juan Soto, it's going to take at least your top 4 or 5 prospects, plus maybe some major league ready players to get Juan Soto. It's going to be that big of a package to
No,
get
like
Juan
I don't want the
Soto.
Dodgers to blow up their farm system. That's only my concern.
Right, and I think that at the end of the day, you're probably going to have to blow up your farm system to get Juan Soto because I think that's what the Washington Nationals are going to demand. It's going to demand a Kevin Durant-like package, a massive package in any return that the Nationals were to get. Because remember, the Nationals don't have to trade Soto. He's under contract for this year. He's under contract for next year. He's under contract the year after. So they could trade him next year. They could trade him at the deadline next year. They could take their time with trading Juan Soto. But here's the thing also. The longer the Nats take to deal Juan Soto, the worse the Nationals will get in a trade because the days keep slipping by where, hey, you only get this much years of Juan Soto if he doesn't sign that contract extension.
That's what I'm saying here, Isaiah. I mean, I think that the Dodgers should be in play for Juan Soto, but do I want to risk blowing up my farm system? Not really, because the Dodgers have guys that they're very high on. But even if the Dodgers trade for Juan Soto, will the Dodgers still have a good farm system?
I don't think you would have to worry, though, about your farm system, and here's why. Like, if it was a guy you're trading for who's in his 30s, then yes, because he would only be on your team for like 7 years. But Juan Soto, if he does go to the Dodgers, I think he would be there for like 10, 15 years. Like, he would be like a member of your farm system who comes up and he's a part of your franchise for the next decade or two. So I think, if to blow up your farm system for anybody, Juan Soto would be the player to do it for because he's very young.
So you're saying is that the Dodgers farm system wouldn't be a mess if they traded for Juan Soto?
I think it would be a mess, but it would be worth it because you would have Juan Soto for the next like 15 years or so if you end up getting him because that's how young he is. Remember, he's only 23 and he's going to be entering his prime. And he's going to be able to do special things wherever he goes for the long term, whomever were to get him. That's why, like, a lot of teams, I think every team in baseball, Taylor's Angels, Chardot's Giants, my Phillies, and your Dodgers were all trying to get him because these players that are on, like, this sort of player in Juan Soto that's on the trade block at the age of 23 and he's already this good, it's very, very rare for a player like this to be on the trade market.
If the Dodgers trade for Juan Soto, I also think the Dodgers will extend Trey Turner. I want Trey Turner to stick around.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think at the end of the day, like, I just think that this Soto thing, I could see it being handled at the trade deadline, but I think it goes down in the offseason so the Nationals have more time to really engage teams and get full value for Juan Soto.
So if the Dodgers get Juan Soto, do you still think the Dodgers will be good for a long time?
Yeah, for sure, because you have like five.
Even if their farm system gets blown up.
Oh, for sure, because the thing about prospects is that they're not proven. Juan Soto is a proven commodity. Like if I were a team, I would take my top 5 prospects and trade them all for Juan Soto because he's young. He's durable. He's in his prime right now, and he's a proven player. So I definitely think that any team that would not be willing to blow up their farm system to get Juan Soto would be foolish because he's a rare player that's never on the market. He's so young. Whenever players are on the market, it's like when they're in their mid-20s, early 30s. He's early 20. Come on, man. Like, you're going to have him for at least 15 years. That's the same shelf life as a prospect.
I'm kind of thinking the Dodgers should be the favorite to land Juan Soto just because we have the prospects to do it. And I don't, even if it costs a lot, it will be worth it for the Dodgers.
Well, it would be worth it for any team that gets him, that trades for him.
I'm saying who I think would be the favorite. Right now, I would favor the Dodgers to get Juan Soto. And I wouldn't want to get him at the trade deadline now. I want to see how Cody Bellinger has in the second half of the season. But I'm kind of thinking that I want to wait till the winter to see where this goes. And I would love to see the Dodgers to engage with the Nationals on a potential trade. And think about it. If Juan Soto's a Dodger, he's going to compliment Mookie Betts well. He's going to compliment Max Muncy well and Freddie Freeman and JT and all that.
I mean, I personally think it's going to go down to at the winner. I don't see this going down to the trade deadline, even though I could see it, but I would be shocked because then the Nationals will be in a rush to deal him because you would have 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks from now with the trade deadline, you're going to have only 3 weeks to try to get that massive package in return for Juan Soto. I just think it's going to be too rushed.
It is going to be too rushed. You're right about that. But anyways, from the Juan Soto saga, we go to Toronto. As the Toronto Blue Jays fired Charlie Montoyo last week, despite being in a position to snag a final wild card spot in the American League. My thoughts on this is it should have not happened. You're right there, and I don't know why the Blue Jays did this to Charlie Montoyo. I felt like he was just scapegoated there. I didn't think, I mean, the Blue Jays were in a slump. It was not all his fault. The Blue Jays made him responsible for this, and they made him a scapegoat, Isaiah. I don't know if you can agree with me on this. What is your thoughts on Charlie Montoyo being fired as the Toronto Blue Jays manager?
I was absolutely stunned. That was my reaction to the news when I got that notification on my phone during my training at Alaska Airlines University in Seattle that Charlie Montoyo had been fired. I mean, the Blue Jays were just hitting their stride. They were starting to play better baseball after a bad start that they had. And yes, I know that they're not going to win the division, but it's not his fault that the Blue Jays play in one of the toughest divisions in all of baseball in the AL East when you have like all 5 teams in line to get a playoff spot this year in the American League. I mean, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays are in it. Even the Orioles are in the mix to get a playoff spot. So I thought it was a foolish decision to fire him. I don't know why they fired him. I think that he really communicated well with the young players, especially with the Latin players like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and others. I know Bo Bichette really liked him. Kevin Biggio really liked him. They liked playing for him. I don't know why he was fired. I don't understand why he was fired. If he was going to be fired, if I was Toronto, I would have waited until the off season just because you're ready to win now. And let's say he can't get out of the first round despite all the talent that you have, then yeah, you could fire him. But to fire him mid-season when you're on a winning streak, I don't understand it whatsoever. It boggles my mind. And I think that if you're Toronto, I think your next manager, if I was the Blue Jays, that I would consider if I was Blue Jays management and Mark Shapiro and those guys, is I would try to see, number one, I would try to see if Terry Francona is available this offseason because, he's had health problems. The Indians are kind of going through like a rebuild sort of. They're not really in contention. They're like a middle tier team. With the talent that the Blue Jays have, Francona having worked with Mark Shapiro and those guys back when they were in Cleveland, it does make sense for Francona to go back to go to Toronto and manage because he would be managing a winning team. And I think at his age, he much rather be managing a winning team instead of a team that's like stuck in the middle or going to a rebuild. It just doesn't make sense for him to continue to manage the Indians. And also, I think Joe Girardi has to be considered. Joe Madden has to be considered as well. I think the Blue Jays need a veteran manager. I don't think that if you're the Blue Jays, I don't think you could have a rookie manager moving forward because I just think you need a guy that has been there and done it and has been in the playoffs and won at the highest level. You need that veteran manager experience that whoever they bring in next. So I think Francona, for me, you have to see if he's available. Girardi's another one. Also, I think that Madden has to be considered. And I think last but not least, if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, watch out for Dave Martinez of the Nationals because the Nationals are headed towards a rebuild. Martinez has won a World Series before. Does he want to continue to coach and manage a team that's rebuilding? Does he want to go through a rebuild? And plus, he's only under contract the rest of this year, so he could choose to just walk away.
He actually got his contract picked up for next year, too.
Well, yeah, okay, so he's got his contract picked up, but I could see him like choosing to just walk away just because, he doesn't want to manage a rebuild. It could be like what Bob Melvin did with the A's, or other managers have done in the past, where they just don't want to go through a rebuild, and he wants to manage a team that is primed to win right now, and that's what the Blue Jays are.
What about you, Taylor? I mean, I know everybody that shocked the baseball world when they fired Charlie Montoyo. What is your thoughts on this? And did you think he was scapegoated?
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling he was, because Charlie Montoya. I don't have a book on him, but he seems to be a good manager, and to let him walk like that, is I think they probably made a big mistake here.
And what about you, Chardol? Were you surprised of the move?
I mean, I was, in a way, I was absolutely stunned that the Blue Jays fired their manager Charlie Montoyo. And I think that it was kind of harsh for them to make that decision. I think they shouldn't have made it halfway through the season to do something like that. It was, it was a very bad, it was a very bad move. And I don't know which other manager the Blue Jays are going to get.
You're absolutely right. I think that's a good point that you got there. But anyways, now let's talk about our first half awards. Let's talk about the team that I think is the most surprising team. I mean, you can throw in a lot of good teams in here, but I gotta say, the team that has been the most surprising team, um, I would have to go with the Baltimore Orioles, because I think that a lot of people had them losing over 100 games again. They lost John Means. This team, everybody had them rebuilt, had them losing 100 games again, and then firing Brandon Hyde. But it looks like the Baltimore Orioles are heading into the right direction in this rebuild. And what about you, Isaiah? Who is your most surprising team?
Well, I think my most surprising team for the first half is, I agree with you, Loro. I think it's the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles had a really bad start. And like you said, a lot of people expected them to lose over 100 games. And also, Brandon Hyde was probably going to get fired, and everybody was just waiting for Adley Rushman to come up and see how he does. Like, this was supposed to be a developmental year for Baltimore, but instead they won like 13 straight, and they are in prime position to make the playoffs out of the American League. And who would have ever seen that coming? The Orioles defense is tremendous, one of the best defending teams in the major leagues. Adley Rushman has come up, and he's been as advertised. He's looked like a star. And don't forget, they're doing this without John Means, who had Tommy John surgery. So I've been very surprised by the Orioles. I think that the Orioles definitely are the biggest surprise in all of baseball in the first half, because they weren't supposed to even be close to where we are right now.
You got to credit Mike Elias for the job that he's done with the roster. I know that the ownership of the Orioles isn't that great, but talk about Mike Elias, who was formerly from the Houston Astros. You know how he built the Astros from the ground floor, from being a 100 loss team and to a perennial World Series contender with Jeff Lou now? He is bringing that method to Baltimore.
Yeah, I think that he definitely does deserve a lot of credit. I've been a big Mike Elias fan for years. When he got hired to Baltimore, I said, okay, this is a great hire by the Baltimore Orioles, and it certainly has paid off. Not the first 2 years, but this year, with all the talent that they have stocked up in the farm system, with the young talent that they have now in the major leagues. Baltimore, you got to watch out for them. They're playing really good defensive baseball. If their offense can get clicking, just watch out for them. They play in a really tough division, so I don't think they'll be able to win the division anytime soon, and it's going to be tough for them. But to see where they are right now, it's truly, truly remarkable to see.
It is definitely remarkable to see. You're totally right about that here. And I'm going to go to Taylor on this one. Who's your most surprising team?
Well, the surprise
in the first half.
Well, for the first half, I gotta say, I gotta say the Padres, because they've taken a step closer towards, making the postseason, and they have kind of, skidded a little bit, but when you pick up guys like, say, Profar and Luke Voigt, they've done a lot of great things with the bat, of course, and Profar especially with on defense with the glove and his throwing arm. The Padres probably wouldn't be where they are right now if it wasn't for them. And definitely for good reason too, because those guys are definitely fun to watch. And the Padres have started to become a fun team to watch now as well.
And what about you, Shardo? Who's your most surprising team?
Would be the New York Yankees, who are 64-28 right now. They're first in the AL East. They have stars such as Aaron Judge, Matt Carpenter, Stanton, Rizzo, Gallo, all these great players on the roster. And I think that if they keep playing at this rate, they might have a chance of making the postseason, and maybe even winning the World Series if they make it all the way to that point.
Oh, you're totally right about that. But anyways, Isaiah, talk about the most disappointing team. I'm going to go first with that. I had the Orioles as my surprising team in the first half, the way they ended the season and the way a lot of people have underestimated the Baltimore Orioles. I think the team that has been really disappointing is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They were my pick to win the American League West. And for those who are watching right now, I had the Angels winning the American League West. I want to apologize to my viewers out there that I picked them, because I was thinking like this was going to be a year that they were going to be fully healthy. They had a healthy Rendon. They had a good bullpen such as Tapara, Bradley, Iglesias, and then they got Noah Syndergaard to help. But it's the same old Angels. They are not playing up to expectations. I think that's why they fired Joe Madden. And I think that they're going to need, and I think that they're going to extend Ohtani. That's for sure, because I think the Angels can still find a way to build their team around Shohei and Mike Trout, but they're probably going to be the same old Angels every year. So, anyways, Isaiah, I'll go to you next. So, who is your most disappointing team?
My most disappointing team. Ooh, Loro, like you, I'm gonna apologize for my foolish pick that I made before the baseball season, and I'm talking about the Detroit Tigers. I shocked all of you guys by picking Detroit to win the AL Central, and it's looking like an absolutely foolish and dumb decision every single day that passes by, because the Detroit Tigers are now 37-55. They are fourth in the American League Central right now. They were supposed to be a team that would take a step even further after last season, when I believe they finished with like 76-84 or 77-84. They had a really good second half, despite their bad start, and everybody was so optimistic, especially with Spencer Torkelson coming up to the big leagues. He was supposed to be that one power hitter that was going to succeed Miguel Cabrera, and he was going to be a star, but everything has just gone opposite for Detroit. Their pitching is terrible, their bullpen is bad. Torkelson's back down to AAA now. The young talent seems to be regressing there in Detroit. Their defense is awful. Miguel Cabrera looks like he's taking a step back. So I don't know. Like, Detroit was supposed to take a step forward again, but it seems like last year they took a step forward, and then this year they took 3 steps back. So Detroit is probably my most disappointing team, because I expect them to be in contention for a wild card spot, much less winning the American League Central. And for them to not even be in playoff position, not even be third or second place in their division, and be fourth place in a division that's the AL Central, that's not really that strong outside of Minnesota and the White Sox, that's very, very disappointing for me.
It is very disappointing there, but I mean, I also have to tell you guys the truth about my foolish pick with the Angels. I mean, I'm sorry that I did that. It's because I don't like the Astros. I mean, they did something really foolish to have a competitive advantage on my Dodgers in the 2017 World Series, which wasn't fair. And I still hate the Astros, but at the same time, I have to be real. They are still the better team in the American League West. No one's going to catch them, but I could see someone chasing the Houston Astros next year, which is the Seattle Mariners, which we'll talk about. I mentioned that earlier in the program, Isaiah.
Yeah, the Mariners are definitely one of my biggest surprises. And they're a team that, like I said, I thought that I was actually going to put them as one of my most disappointing teams if they had not had that turnaround and that 14-game winning streak the last couple of weeks. So, it's going to be very fun to watch the American League West in the next couple of years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, but to be honest, I think I would have to, when we make our picks next year, I would have to pick Houston to win the American League West every year.
Well, you're not the only one that went foolish with your pick. I mean, I picked Detroit to win the Central. When I picked the Rangers,
I also picked the White Sox to repeat the American League Central, and then I also realized myself that the American League Central is an unpredictable division.
It is. It is an unpredictable division, and I also picked Texas to win the AL West, and they started off really bad, but I mean they picked it up as of late. But it's Houston's division every single year.
Yeah, I have to realize that now, even though that even though I don't like the Astros, but Chardol, I'm gonna ask you, who do you think is your most disappointing team in the first half of the season?
I hate to say this, but I think the most disappointing team would be the Oakland Athletics, with a record of 31-60. They're going down a path of failure. They've traded many of their players like Marcus Semien, Chapman, Hendricks, Olsen, Marte, Manaea, and now they have no way of making it to the MLB postseason. They're currently fifth in the American League West.
What about you, Taylor? Who's your most disappointing team in baseball in the first half of the season?
Well, I definitely got to go with the probably the Arizona Diamondbacks, because I had high hopes for them to start, especially when they went out and get hoping this could be a bounce back year for Madison Bumgarner on the mound, but that unfortunately hasn't happened. And also, with all those other young players like Dalton Varsho and all those guys, but they're underperforming. And unfortunately, I just think it's going to be a while before we see Arizona back in the picture.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is going to be a while. I think them and Colorado are just going to be stuck in the bottom in the National League West. But anyways, let's talk about our first half AL MVP. Talk about a guy that I think the Yankees are going to pay him big money at the end of the offseason, and I pick Aaron Judge. I think Aaron Judge is finally healthy, and he's a guy that he is so fun to watch. And not only that, I always envisioned him being the next Derek Jeter on the New York Yankees. And I'll go to you, Isaiah. Who's your first half American League MVP?
This might be a shock because he's a rookie, but I got to go with him. Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners. I know Judge has had better numbers, but Rodriguez is an absolute star. He is a phenom. When I was in Seattle, since I've been in Seattle the last week and a half, I've watched this kid play on Root Sports, and he's been phenomenal. He's been a phenomenal defender. He's been great with the bat. He has tremendous power. He keeps tormenting my Oakland A's. Every time we play the Seattle Mariners, he's got great pop. He's hits the ball to all parts of the field. He's got tremendous speed, and MLB is luckily able to have him as a future face of baseball, because this kid is special. The Mariners have something special in him moving forward. And, I think that the best is yet to come for him. And I really am shocked by what he's doing from the start of the season all the way until now, and putting up the numbers that he's been putting up. And, tonight he almost won the home run derby. And for a rookie, that's very rare.
Yeah, it is very rare for a rookie to do that. That's for sure. But anyways, I'm going to ask Taylor this here. So who's your first half AL MVP?
Well, after looking carefully at all these guys, you know, that this is going to be a toss up between. I mean, I've looked carefully at everyone, but I'm probably going to have to go with. Oh, I'll I'll probably have to go with Aaron Judge because he has definitely been on a tear as of late, and then I'm surprised he got. I say he definitely got snubbed of an appearance in the home run derby, but Aaron Judge, he continues to he continues to play his best baseball yet. I think he's as if he's not the face of the Yankees already, but definitely he is definitely worthy of perhaps going to the well, he's in the All-Star game, I know that, but if the Yankees win the World Series, he will definitely be one of the biggest reasons why they did.
And what about you, Chardol? Who is your first half AL MVP? Chardol, you there? Oh, and Chardol left us here. So, anyways, let me talk about who my first half NL MVP is. I mean, he's fit in with the Dodgers pretty well since leaving the Atlanta Braves, and I'm really happy to have him. And it's Freddie Freeman, and I think Freddie Freeman is going to be a fixture of this Dodgers organization for many, many years to come. And I say that because he's a great guy in the clubhouse, but not only that, I think he is a guy that is really good. I mean, let's go back to Chardol here. So tell us your first half AL MVP and your first half NL MVP.
So my first half AL MVP is going to be Trey Mancini from the Baltimore Orioles. He's up for 2022 comeback for the player of the year in the ESPYs. And my 2022 NL MVP, I'm gonna go with Jock Peterson from the San Francisco Giants.
And what about you, Isaiah? Who is your first half National League MVP?
I'm really, really torn right now because there's a lot of people that I could go with when it comes to AL or when it comes to the National League MVP. If Bryce Harper hadn't gotten hurt, I think that he probably would have been the National League MVP and he would have repeated. But I think you got to go with Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals. Paul Goldschmidt's putting up amazing numbers. He's got um, he's got so much RBIs right now. I think that this guy's leading this Cardinals club. I thought he was very underrated when he was with the Diamondbacks, and he's continued to prove his worth now with the St. Louis Cardinals on a bigger stage. He's hitting .330 this year with 20 home runs, 70 RBI. He's having a phenomenal year like he always does. He, for me, is my National League MVP. He's just putting on a show every time he takes the field out there at Busch Stadium.
What about you, Taylor? Who is your first half MVP for the National League?
Well, for the National League, they're stocked. They are stacked pretty much with all these good players. But especially, but for the National League, I honestly gotta say, I've done my research on all this, but I think I'm gonna go with how about I think I'll have to go with Freddie Freeman from your Dodgers because he has definitely been a good pickup for the Dodgers, and I was shocked when he first burst on the scene in LA because after he when he chose to leave the Braves after winning the World Series with them and in the process knocked out the Dodgers, he chose to go to the losing side, and so yeah, he's definitely been a good pickup for your Dodgers.
Definitely has. But anyways, let's talk about our first half American League Cy Young Award. I'm picking Shane McClanahan from the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, he's had a great start to his rookie season. I mean, he is going to be a fixture of this Tampa Bay Rays. They always seem to find a winner in trades. Like when they traded Blake Snell, they always know how to do next man up. That is what is good working for the Tampa Bay Rays with this Moneyball strategy that they're on. Isaiah, I'll go to you. Who is your first half AL Cy Young?
I'm going to go with him, even though he doesn't have better numbers than Shane McClanahan or Justin Verlander, but he's in a bigger market. He's plays for the New York Yankees. That, gets you definitely more bonus points when it comes to these votings. For me, it's Garrett Cole, because I think Garrett Cole has bounced back really nicely after a bad start. His ERA is 3.02. He's 9-2. He struck out 147 batters, which is tied for the most in the American League. And he's pitched 113 innings and only given up 38 runs. So I think Garrett Cole is back. He's a guy that is a tremendous pitcher when he's on, but he has definitely been on for the last several months for the New York Yankees. And the Yankees, they are having the best record in baseball, partially because of the success of Garrett Cole.
What about you, Taylor? Who is your first half AL Cy Young?
Well, all the pitchers, since, this has been tough ever since, they incorporated the universal designated hitter for this year, but with obviously some exceptions, I'm probably going to have to give this one to, let me think. I could give it to Shohei Ohtani of my Angels, but, I've seen better pitchers, and I think for this year, I probably give it to who is it, the ace on the it was in the American League set. Oh yeah, I'll give it to Shane Bieber of the Cleveland Guardians. Ever since he won the All-Star Game MVP back in 2019, he's definitely been getting better every season. So Shane Bieber has definitely been pitching gems almost each and every night. So I definitely have to give it to Shane Bieber.
What about you, Shardo? Who is your first half AL Cy Young Award winner?
My first half Cy Young for the American League would be Justin Verlander from the Houston Astros, and my first half NL Cy Young would be Logan Webb for the San Francisco Giants.
All right. Anyways, with that being said, here, for my National League pick, I mean, Shardo already got his picks for both AL and NL here for first half's AL and NL Cy Young awards. For me, I'm going Clayton Kershaw. I mean, despite the injury he had in May, I think Clayton Kershaw has been he has been back to being the Clayton Kershaw of old. And that's what I like to see now that the Dodgers are without Walker Buehler and all that. Clayton Kershaw is now back to being Clayton Kershaw of old. And I think he's right now my first half National League Cy Young winner. What about you, Isaiah?
My National League Cy Young Award winner. Wow. There's a lot of great pitchers that you could pick from. Kershaw, like you mentioned. Chardot, I don't know how you could pick Logan Webb. He's been injured for a lot of the season, and he just really hasn't been that good with the Giants this year. For me, I'm looking at the list of players that are predicted right now in the NL for Cy Young. I'm gonna go with Sandy Alcantara of the Miami Marlins. This guy has pitched in 19 games. He has 138 innings pitched. He's got a 1.76 ERA, and he's 9-4. But here's the thing about that record. Most of the losses that he's taken, it's not his fault, because the Marlins offense is so bad that they can't even put up more than 2 runs a game and support their pitchers. So for me, I'm going to give it to Sandy Alcantara. I think he's got the numbers to back it up. I think he's got the the record's not great, but the ERA is the one that really sticks out. 1.76 after the first half. It's definitely something noteworthy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And anyways, Taylor, who is your pick? Who is your first half NL Cy Young pick?
Um, Definitely. I think his numbers kind of shock me because his numbers have actually been better than they were before. And Isaiah, you probably know him well, because he's on one of your teams. I'm gonna give it to Kyle Gibson of the Philadelphia Phillies. Rock on, Gibby. He's definitely been pitching. He's really improved his game ever since he was acquired from the Texas Rangers. Um, and this guy, well, he's definitely become a much improved pitcher with the Phillies. So, yeah, Kyle Gibson. And, well, kind of because I also say this, I kind of wish he'd become an Angel because, and I don't know, and I doubt he's anything related to Anaheim Ducks goaltender John Gibson. I doubt it, but in any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibby.
Anyway, so we got everybody there. But anyways, now let's talk about our most surprising player. For me, I'm actually going to go with two on my Dodgers who have been really good all year, and that is what you going to call this? Tony Gonsolin and Tyler Anderson. Those two have been phenomenal to start the year. I mean, who would have thought that they would be our top two pitchers in the rotation this early? They have been the unsung heroes of the Dodgers rotation, and I think that's I think that's probably my choice there. But anyways, Isaiah, who do you think is your most surprising player this year?
My most surprising player. Ooh, wow. I'm gonna go with Adley Rushman of the Baltimore Orioles. This was a kid that I loved when he was in college at Oregon State. I loved that the Orioles drafted him with the number one overall pick, and I definitely thought that he was going to be a star. But I didn't think he was going to be a star in his first year in the major leagues. This guy came up, and all he just does is rake, and rake, and he's just been absolutely he's been absolutely performing as advertised with the Baltimore Orioles. And he's a lot of people mentioned Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Witt Jr. and all the other guys. Adley Rushman is definitely on that list of surprising rookies out of the gate. So I'm going to go with Adley Rushman because I thought he was going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to be like this special right out of the gate.
All right. Anyways, what about you, Taylor and Chardot? Who are your most surprising players this year?
Well, for me, I'll say from the American League, I'd have to go with well, I'll start with the National League. Actually, I'm gonna give it to Jurickson Profar of the San Diego Padres because ever since he's developed from starting in at the bottom third of the batting order to the pretty much the almost the middle. He has been hitting leadoff, but he has definitely been doing a great job as the leadoff hitter, and his defense has definitely been superior throughout the season. That's why I like to call him hit far, throw far, Profar because he's more well-rounded than I thought he was. As far as the American League goes, well, I'd probably have to give it to how about Lourdes Gurriel Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays? He's I know he had a few off seasons where he hasn't been so good, but he's starting to reinvent himself. So definitely, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is definitely making a comeback.
Yeah, he is definitely making a comeback there. That's for sure. But anyway, Chardot, who is your most surprising player and most disappointing player here?
My most surprising player would be Carlos Rodon from the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, and what about disappointing?
Yuri Gurriel Jr. from the Toronto Blue Jays.
It's Lourdes Gurriel. I think he's been good, but he's just had an okay year. But anyways, now we'll talk about my most disappointing player. To me, I'm gonna have to go with Cody Bellinger. I mean, I think that he's not shown it yet, but am I confident that he can turn it around? Absolutely. I think he can do this, but I think that could his days in Dodger Blue be numbered? It could be, but I don't know. It's definitely a wait and see type of thing, but we'll just have to wait and see. What about you, Isaiah? Who's your most disappointing player?
Are we talking about the American League or the National League?
Anything. It could be anything, any player.
Oh, okay. Mickey Moniak. Easy. Because this kid he was the number one pick. He was supposed to have a breakout year this season. He had an amazing spring training. He was hitting 330, plus he had like 7 home runs in spring training. I know it's spring training, but still, he changed his swing. He was putting up some really good numbers with the new swing. Then he got hit right on the hand with a fastball, and then, he was out for like 6 weeks. And when he came back, he was supposed to be the Phillies savior. He was supposed to be the guy that was going to save the Phillies. And yes, the Phillies have gotten better with him as he's come back, but he's been really bad as a player. He's hitting 130 something. He got demoted to the minor leagues again for the second time this year. He can't hit a curveball to save his life. He has had like 40 strikeouts, I believe, in like 40 strikeouts, I believe, in about 70 or 69 at bats. Like, it's crazy how many times he's striking out. He's looking like the second coming of Joey Gallo out there on the baseball field. But I picked Mickey Moniak to win the Rookie of the Year, and right now he's stuck in the minor league. So that was definitely a bad pick on my part. And, it's been a really, really bad and tough season and disappointing season for Mickey Moniak.
Definitely is. You're absolutely right about that. But I also want to get to Taylor and Chardot here. I'll start with Taylor first. So Taylor, who's your most disappointing player?
I gotta say, for my Angels, of course, I gotta say Joe Adell. I was hoping he would improve, but he did have a promising start to the season, but he gets sent down to the minors, and then the injury bug hits, and he gets called back up, and he kind of hasn't been the same ever since the start of the season. Because he had a great month of April, and then in May he got sent down to the minors. Then the injury bug hits. He gets called up in June, and he just hasn't been the same. He hasn't been the same player that he was in April, because he got sent to the minors at the end of the month or early in May, and he just hasn't been the same since.
What about you, Chardol? Who is your? Did you already say who your most disappointing player was?
My most disappointing player would be Joey Bart from the Giants, because he hasn't been so great. His game has been kind of off sometimes. Sometimes he's had a great game and sometimes he hasn't.
All right. Anyways, with that being said, here now, now we'll talk about AL and NL Rookies of the Year for the first half. I'll start first for AL. I'm actually going to pick Julio Rodriguez. I think after overcoming a slow start, he has been really tearing it up since then. And I think he is definitely going to be a front runner for the American League Rookie of the Year. And for the National League, oh man, I'll tell you, I'm actually going to go with Nolan Gorman of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think Nolan Gorman has a ton of potential, and I think he's really fitting in. And I think he might have kicked Paul DeJong out of St. Louis. Now that's happened. What about you, Isaiah?
Julio Rodriguez is not only my AL MVP pick, but he's also my AL Rookie of the Year pick because he's just been so fun and so dynamic to watch, especially on the Mariners win streak. And if the Mariners have a red hot second half and make the playoffs, he's definitely going to not only clinch the MVP award, but he's going to clinch the Rookie of the Year award as well. And I know Adley Rutschman, he's been great, but Rodriguez, he's been even better than Rutschman has been. So I got to give him that as my AL Rookie of the Year. And for my NL Rookie of the Year, I'm trying to think about who is going to be my NL Rookie of the Year. There's a lot of great candidates out there, but I'm going to go with Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore really surprised me. I know he was good, but I didn't know he was really that good. And Mackenzie Gore has a dynamic curveball and slider. He's got great off-speed stuff. He's got a really, great fastball, a dynamic fastball, and he's just been striking out batters left and right, and he's been almost unhittable for the San Diego Padres. So for me, I'm gonna go with Mackenzie Gore as my Rookie of the Year for the NL, and also Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners for the American League.
All right. Anyways, who did you say again? Who's your National League pick?
Mackenzie Gore, the starting pitcher of the Padres.
Yeah, he's been really great all year, and Julio Rodriguez, I'm with you on that. But anyway, Chardol, who is your first half AL and NL Rookies of the Year?
My first half Rookie of the Year for the National League will be Luis Gonzalez from the San Francisco Giants, and my first half American League Rookie of the Year will be Julio Rodriguez from the Seattle Mariners.
Anyways, now we'll go to Taylor. And Taylor, who is your AL and NL Rookies of the Year for the first half?
Well, from the American League, it's definitely unanimous among us. Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners, hands down, Rookie of the Year. And if the Mariners do end up making the postseason, he'll be the biggest reason why. As far as the National League goes, I think I'll probably have to go with Chardol on this one. Or I don't know if he's still up in the bigs yet still, but probably David VR of the San Francisco Giants, because he was tearing it up in AAA with Sacramento, and he earned a much deserved call up to the Giants, and I think he's actually flourishing there right now. So, it's just safe to say that once you get called up, you obviously got to make the best of it, and I have a feeling David VR is doing just that.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Anyways, now with that being said, folks, now we will talk about our first half manager of the year. I'm going to pick Oliver Ollie Marmol. I think he has really been a great great presence to the St. Louis Cardinals clubhouse, and I think that it's definitely paid off for him to be there. And anyways, Chardol, I'll go with you. Chardol, I'll go with you first. Who is your first half manager of the year?
My first half manager of the year for the NL will be Gabe Kapler. And my first half manager of the AL would be Bob Melvin.
Ooh, that's pretty good here. And what about you? Isaiah?
So my manager of the year first half, I'm gonna do for the AL first. For the American League side, I think you got to go with Aaron Boone because the Yankees have the best record in baseball. I didn't even have the Yankees making the playoffs this year, much less having the best record in baseball. So for them to have the best record in baseball to close the first half, 64 wins, just really impressive stuff by Aaron Boone and the rest of his coaching staff, especially unlocking the full potential of Aaron Judge. So great job to Aaron Boone. That's my manager of the year, and my manager of the year in the National League. I'm gonna have to go with Bob Melvin. I'm gonna have to agree with Chardot and go with Bob Melvin because the Padres were supposed to be like a decent team this year by a lot of people that were projecting this stuff, but they weren't supposed to be, where they are right now. And after last year, completely turning it around, it's truly impressive.
Definitely is truly impressive. You're definitely spot on right about that. But anyways, folks, now we will be moving on. If it with moving to Taylor here, who is your first half manager of the year?
So American League wise, I think I'll I'll have to agree with Isaiah with Aaron Boone of the Yankees. The Yankees are definitely they're definitely a perennial championship contenders. So, and not to mention, like Isaiah said, he unlocked the full potential of Aaron Judge, and definitely he is broken out. And then for the National League, I think I'll agree with Isaiah on Bob Melvin of the Padres too, because he has definitely turned the organization around. So you're definitely you definitely can't go anywhere if you don't have a good manager, and Bob Melvin fits that criteria.
Definitely does. And now, with that being said, here, now for our final topic of the night, the Mariners ended the first half of the season, winning 14 in a row, longest in MLB history to end the first half, with the surprising Orioles led by rookie phenom Adley Rutschman, won 15 of 16 to close out the first half, and they're in prime position to get a wild card spot. Who do I think has a better chance to make the playoffs? Is it the Seattle Mariners or the Baltimore Orioles? I'm actually going to say the Seattle Mariners because I think that they're suited better than the Orioles, but I think the Orioles need a little bit more time. What about you, Isaiah? Who has a better chance to make the playoffs between the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles?
Wow. Ooh, this is very, very tough because when you look at the schedules, right? The Orioles got the Yankees, the Rays, and the Reds to start the second half, and then they have the Rangers and Pirates. So, you know what? I'm gonna have to agree with you, Laurel. I think the Mariners, just because I think that the Mariners have an easier schedule. They don't have to go through the gauntlet of the Rays, the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Boston Red Sox to like more times in the second half. The Mariners just have to go through the Astros, and then that's about it. They can feast on the Angels. They can feast on the Rangers. They can feast on the Oakland A's as well. So they got a much, much easier schedule than the Baltimore Orioles moving forward. And I just think that the Orioles, I think it was just a red hot streak that they're on. It what Brandon Hyde and his club is doing is very impressive. But I think it's just a red hot streak that they were on. And I think they will unfortunately cool off in the second half. But the Mariners, they got a lot of talent. They got Rodriguez doing his thing. They've got the pitching has been much better with Marco Gonzalez, Logan Gilbert as well. And also, don't forget they're doing this without Kyle Lewis and also Jared Kelnick, who's been terrific last season for them. So I'm going to go with the Mariners. I think it's definitely going to be the Mariners because they have the easier schedule.
What about you, Taylor and Chardot? I'll start with you, Taylor, first. Who do you think has a better chance to make it to the playoffs between the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles?
Well, the Mariners, of course, because like Isaiah said, they have the easier schedule. They can easily take down teams like the Angels and the A's and the who knows who else. And then of course, who with Julio Rodriguez leading the way, who needs guys like Jared Kelenic and Mitch Haniger and all those other bats. Julio Rodriguez is the complete package when it comes to not just hitting. I think I've seen him make a few great defensive plays too. So, and not to mention the AL West appears to be a much more easier division to compete in than the AL East. So I'm going to have to obviously, yeah, the Mariners I think definitely have a better chance of getting in than the Baltimore Orioles.
What about you, Chardot? Who do you think has a better chance to make the playoffs between the Mariners and the Orioles?
I also agree with Lauro that the Seattle Mariners have a much better chance of making the playoffs because they have stars like Ty France, Julio Rodriguez, and Mitch Haniger.
Anyways, folks, I hope everybody is having a great night. I mean, it's time for some final thoughts as we're about to close it for the night. My final thoughts is that it's been a great show. Looking forward to the All-Star game and looking forward to another episode of Battle Up on Sunday. What about you, Isaiah?
Well, my final thoughts is it was great to do the show again. What a great first half of the baseball season that we've had so far. I'm actually glad that we actually have a baseball season, because if you were following the reports and the coverage early in the lockout and into the the middle of the lockout, you would have thought, okay, no, there's no way whatsoever we're even going to have a season. But not only to have a season, but to have a full 162 game season is truly a blessing. And I can't wait to get back and do this show again with you guys. It's going to be so much fun. We always have so much fun on Batter Up. Don't forget Sports Weekly, our new Wild Sports Talk like show, will be starting on Wednesday. Sports Weekly will be coming up on Wednesday with myself, Loro, and the rest of the IM6 crew. We're going to be talking about basketball, football, baseball, and more as it goes down. But Sports Weekly will be coming up on Wednesday, so I can't wait for that. But great show of Batter Up. Looking forward to what the second half brings, and maybe a Juan Soto trade at the trade deadline. Who knows?
I don't think there will be a Juan Soto trade at the trade deadline. I don't think it's going to happen. I want it to wait till the offseason, and I'd favor the Dodgers to trade for Juan Soto in the offseason. What about you, Taylor? What are your final thoughts?
Well, of course, it's a great show. It's always a treat to join all of you, and at the same time, we were lucky to have a season. But some of the rule changes, universal designated hitter. I mean, I don't know what you think about it, but I mean, there are some pitchers out there that are really good hitters, not just Ohtani, but I've seen Madison Bumgarner hit some home runs before. I think Clayton Kershaw's hit a bomb or two, and it just when the pitchers hit, and I've seen my mom react to this also. It kind of makes the game a little more exciting, especially when one pitcher makes a mistake to the opposing pitcher, because it can change the whole game. And therefore, it can just, but other than that, we've had a great first half of the season, and, hopefully as things progress, things will get better for the teams that are struggling right now, like my Angels, for instance. And then the same thing for the other teams that are struggling. Who knows? Because they have to pick it up now, and if they do, they could be in position for a better playoff spot come September.
What about you, Shardul? What are your final thoughts?
It's really great coming on Batter Up. I really love coming on the show and talking baseball with you guys and hearing all your different takes that you have. I can't wait to join you on Batter Up on Sunday.
All right, for Isaiah, for Shardul, for Taylor, Loro signing off for now. Have a great night, everybody.